All right, Sammy, here's a quick recap of our lesson today for you and your dad. And the first thing I wanted to explain to you is that your lack of distance is it's not necessarily an athleticism thing. It's not that you don't swing fast enough. It's that you have pretty poor arm structure and body mechanics in the golf swing, and that's what I just kind of want to touch base on a little bit in this lesson. So the first issue that I saw in the backswing here was basically nearing the top of your backswing. So in this phase, so from left arm parallel to the ground to the top of the backswing, your right arm goes very much into abduction. And when I say right arm, I'm talking about the right shoulder. And you'll notice how your right arm moves significantly off of your rib cage and sort of behind you. And I'll show you some examples of what it should look like here in just a second. But once that right arm moves significantly behind you, when you change directions, it really gets trapped back behind you in this phase. And that's noted by how deep your left arm is still across your chest here. Now, that causes a whole host of problems. So, number one, it makes it very difficult to square the club face because the right arm is so far behind you. That's probably why you instinctually started to close the face early on in your backswing. I know that you've struggled with getting the face too shut early in the backswing, and you've probably just instinctually done that to kind of match up with this move that we see right here. But that right elbow is way too far behind the rib cage. It's very difficult to square the face from here, but also it causes the bottom of the swing arc to be problematic as well. And so what I mean by that is the only way that you can square the face with your right arm this far behind you is to kind of release your wrist angles early. And so what I mean by that is if you look at how you've got this nice kind of 90-degree angle between your lead arm and the shaft, and what we're going to see happen is you're going to release that angle way too soon in the golf swing. Straightening the right arm is how we get the face to square. And you'll notice how your lower body is really rotated, open relative to the target. Nice turn there. But your arms are kind of like way back here behind you. And you're straightening this right arm as fast as you can in an effort to get that face to line up and square up to the target. But you actually kind of lean the shaft back and you add a lot of loft. So in terms of hitting the ball further, if I didn't add 1 mile an hour speed to your club, I still think I could get you to hit the ball further because of what we talked about in having more shaft lean at impact and having your arms and your body more synced up. And so let's talk a little bit about root cause. So let's talk about the reason why from the top of the backswing, because your backswing from all through this phase is perfect, all the way to about left arm parallel to the ground, even a little further than that. So your backswing right here is really good. But here's the problem. Like Joe mentioned to you the other day when he gave you a lesson, your hips don't turn or rotate very much in your backswing. As a matter of fact, they stop turning at about right here. And because they're not turning, you're figuring out a way to lengthen your backswing, and you're doing that by just pulling this right elbow back behind you. And what you should be doing is continuing to rotate those hips and move that right hip up, around, and back behind you. But you can see here in this phase of the swing, as I'm moving, your arms are moving, but your lower body is kind of frozen. And what should that look like? Lower body action? Something more like this. And you can see this is Mickey Wright, one of the greatest female swings of all time. But look at her turn and look at your turn. So here you are at the top of your backswing, and your lower body hasn't moved. And then watch how powerfully she unloads in transition. Back into the golf ball. And how, everything's lined up and lower body's synced up. So the faulty arm structure that you have at the top is because the restricted lower body movement that you see over here on the right. So what should the arm look like? Well, what we worked on today was getting some more external rotation in that trail shoulder. And if you check out this swing over here on the right, I'm going to zoom yours in just a little bit. So I said, again, everything in your swing is pretty solid to about, this point in your backswing. Your knees have turned, or your hips have turned the appropriate amount. Everything looks pretty solid. And if you look at your swing and the girl on the right, they're pretty darn similar. It's in this phase, because you don't have any more hip rotation, that you start abducting and allowing your right arm to move way back behind the rib cage. So a key indicator of this is like how horizontal this bone is in your upper arm. And if you watch the golfer on the right, you're going to see that the right arm stays a lot closer to the body. Now, she can do that because she's turning her lower body a lot more than you are. It may not look like it on camera, but she is, because her right arm is in a completely different position than yours is. Now, the key move is where her right arm is, it's easy for that right arm to come back down in front of her rib cage. And if you'll notice the relationship of how far her elbow is in front of the ribs, whereas yours is still back behind you at this part in the swing. So she can continue to turn and rotate and get it to move around the corner with no flip. And in your case, because the right arm is so far behind you, your hand path can't go around the corner, and it's going to be thrown out to the right and move out away from you there. So that's not a strength thing, it's a coordination thing because of the basic geometry in your swing. So one of the things that I want you to do to train this is I want you to get a Tour Striker ball. And I've got one, and I'll show it to you the next time we're together. But you can order it from tourstriker.com, and it's just a little balloon-like ball with a lanyard on it that goes around your neck, and you'll see the golfer over here on the right has one. It goes between your forearms, and what it does is it keeps your elbows closer together at the top here so that the right arm is in external rotation. And again, if I show you yours, you can really see it from right here. This right elbow just moves back. Right shoulder moves back, retracts off of the rib cage. And you can see that when those elbows stay together, that right elbow can come back down in front of you, and those hands can go around the corner. Okay, and that's the part that we're missing in your swing, but we did a nice job of kind of working on that today, and I'll text you the videos that we took from the lesson today. Hope this helps and gives you a clear path of what we're working on going forward.